first thing I did when I quit mainstream journalism was...
One of the big treks that you've done, which is Kilimanjaro, in one sentence.
Oh, that's going to be difficult. I was asked by a blind person if I could take him on a trek. They said, nobody's willing to take me. And then it struck me that why somebody would not want to take. And that's where the journey started.
Would love to understand what you think everyone can do as one thing to help our cities become greener and cleaner.
It's easier said than done, actually.
And I truly believe that AGI is something that we should all get to, but we can't get to it without AQI. And that's what we'll talk about. Hello everyone, my name is Sanjay and we are here to discuss environment, sustainability and AI. This is going to be a new series of podcasts under the name AQI for AGI, connecting the quality of environment that we live in as a precursor to get to the so-called heaven of AI, which is AGI. So we are not going to get there without having quality environment. To have this discussion, the first part of this podcast, we have a very illustrious guest today, Anusha. Anusha, welcome.
Thank you, Sanjay.
This is going to be the first of this episodes, and the title is going to be Mountains Don't Lie.
Okay.
And the reason for that, obviously you're a journalist for 30 odd years, but more importantly, you're a mountaineer. And as a mountaineer, probably you've seen things up close and personal in those periods that you've been traveling in mountains as to how environment degradation has affected or has not affected in different parts of, whether it's Sahyadris, where we are close to, or Himalayas.
Yeah.
So that's what we are here for. To start, maybe you can introduce yourself beyond, I think, my small incomplete introduction.
Right. So I've been a former journalist, over 30 years of experience, and now an independent one. I quit mainstream journalism to actually pursue my interests in outdoor and also write more about the outdoors and the adventure and everything related to environment outdoors. So, which is why I quit mainstream journalism after a very long, illustrious career, I must say. I mean, I was quite successful in that sense. Mm-hmm. And it's been now a decade since I'm on my own, and I've been doing a lot of outdoor work and combining, I think, one of those lucky ones, I must say I am, where I've been able to pursue both my passions as my career. So my first passion was journalism, and the second, of course, is the outdoors. And I've been able to seamlessly integrate my writing along with my outdoor work. So, yeah, that's a little about me and what I do.
That's amazing. I mean, what a nice start to this series. Outdoors is where we see most of the good around us, the earth, and the good part and the bad part.
Yeah.
Journalism is where you actually get to write about it. Most important thing that we see about around us before we get to the mountains is the cities that we live in, right?
Correct.
And the cities that we live in are in India probably one of the most polluted cities. Unfortunately, I think I came across some research which showed that among the top 20 most polluted cities, quite a few
the
numbers.
metro cities, I guess.
The metros, yeah, quite a few are Indian, which is not a good. We don't want to kind of rank the highest on that. I think we come from a place which truly treasures Earth, calls it the mother of everything, and we clearly need to change. So the air that we breathe is effectively what makes this whole thing come together as planet's health and our health, which is all completely interlinked, and which is what this show is going to be kind of about. How do we make the planet better? Because every breath that we take is effectively a vote on the planet, the future of the planet, future of AI, and future of AGI as well, where I come from the world of finance and then technology, and I truly believe that AGI is something that we should all get to, but we can't get to it without AQI, and that's what we'll talk about. Maybe a little more delving into your past as to how did you move out from your sort of work to your passion becoming your work. So before we get to the more detailed aspects of this, let's just define the terms. AQI, AGI, we talked about AQI. AQI is average quality of the environment.
Right.
Generally speaking, the AQI in the cities that we have is in triple digits, sometimes in 4 digits.
Yeah.
And the international average is supposed to be less than 50. World Health Organization says that anything more than, I think, 50 has disastrous effects on our health. And we'll talk about that in subsequent podcasts, hopefully. But that's AQI. And AGI is artificial general intelligence. So coming from tech, back to the mountains, back to how did you get to the mountains from your workplace, which was newsrooms, right? So newsrooms, which was work, to your hobby becoming your work.
Yeah, so I've been a mainstream journalist and worked in daily newspapers, and then towards the end, the last probably 8 years, I spent in a magazine, which was slightly more relaxed environment because it was a fortnightly magazine. But having been a hardcore news journalist, starting my career with a tabloid newspaper and then moving on to a pink paper and then to another very well-known national daily, I was constantly on the move, trying to get stories, always had the nose for news. And it was interesting, my career trajectory was very good. And but then, after almost 22, 23 years, it kind of started getting stagnating for me when I was working in a magazine. It was fun. I mean, I must say that so long I was a mainstream journalist, it was great fun. I had great mentors and editors I worked with. And even during being a daily journalist and then a magazine journalist, the one thing I didn't lose was trekking. I would take off in a year. We would be allotted 15, 20 days of leave, and I would just take off to the mountains. A lot of my friends would be surprised, like, holiday is for relaxing. I mean, you're going again an arduous trek, exhausting your body. Matlab, kya, journalism
se why do you torture yourself in your...
Yeah, like journalism kafi nahi hai kya? Matlab ki you're constantly on your feet, and then again you're going trekking in the mountains. But for me, that was my space. It was, for me, relaxation. So every time I want to kind of find my me space, I'm out in the outdoors. Living in the city of Bombay, you can imagine where can you get me space, I mean, parks are also now full. You'll have to literally go in the midnight to go and sit by yourself, or any place. Like... or you need to be oblivion to your environment around you for you to generally be by yourself. So for me, I think the best space that I used to find myself to refresh myself, to rethink something that I want to be doing, whether it means working on a story, whether it means to work on myself, outdoors was my space, sit. And I think for me, and I would say this for many, I don't know who would have experienced this, outdoors and the nature is one place that does not judge you. It does not ask you too many questions. You don't have to conform to standards, right? बैठो अपने आप चुपचाप, 10 लोग होंगे हमारे सामने, बात करने की जरूरत नहीं है. And I think, so for me, that was, it gave me a lot of solace. And so I would take off. I was heavily into trekking even while, and I used to love when I used to go back to work and I would meet CEOs or, business professionals who I meet as a journalist. They wouldn't ask me, what's your next story? They'd ask me, which mountain are you climbing?
Which is the next trek?
Yeah, or which trek are you going, or which mountain? Which I was like so happy to answer that question. Ki, there is life beyond just your professional life, right? And one fine day, so I'm a Chevening scholar, I'm a British Chevening scholar, which I, again, almost after 15, 17 years in the profession, I got the scholarship, which is fully funded and all of that. I was in London. I came back after my scholarship. Perspectives change because you work as intern in some of the international newspapers and magazines, and came back. Perspectives change. Wanted to do something big or something different from what you've been doing. I mean, I was very clear that I just don't want to stick to corporate journalism that I was doing, but go beyond it. So I was looking at writing, doing something on social entrepreneurship. This was in 2012, and things were kind of gaining ground on social entrepreneurship. So I said, "Karte hain," but didn't find space. So amicably, I quit. The first thing I did when I quit mainstream journalism was...
Let me guess, go on a long trek?
No, I went on a solo cycling trip to Goa from Bombay.
Okay.
So I just went home.
1,000 kilometers? Yeah.
To and fro, 6 days to and fro. So while coming back, of course, I put it in from Alibag, I took a catamaran and I came back to Gateway and then rode back home. But I packed my one backpack. I have a mountain bike, which is not a hybrid. It's proper mountain bike. I have a Scott. And backpack, one pair of clothes, one sleeping bag, water hydration pack. And I just took off. No plan, nothing. I said, the only thing I remember doing and I said consciously I must do is, I need to travel 80 to 100 kilometers a day, ride, or I ride from 7 in the morning till about 5 in the evening, with obviously breaks, not like ride through and through. So, and this was in the month of December, so the weather was also very conducive. So that was it. I would take breaks for lunch. I would stop wherever I thought, I'm getting a good view. And I'd been on that road before, so I kind of knew. And I said, see, worst case scenario, anything happens to your bike. I had my toolkit with me, but I said, puncture hota, you get it on the way, you'll get it done. But thankfully, my cycle worked very well. And I went on this happily, I think one of my most inexpensive trips, I must say.
Maybe memorable as well?
Yeah, absolutely memorable as well. But it was a great experience, and you could, because when I quit without a job. I needed to know what my next plan of action is going to be. So I knew I can write. I knew I'm an outdoor professional, so kuch na kuch to ho hi jayega. And I came back, and then turning point, I think, was 2013 Uttarakhand disaster.
Right.
So I'd already quit by then. So I was working from home. I was doing a lot of content writing. And when the call came to help out, and Uttarkashi, the main district, which was disaster prone, was called for help.
I think I remember Uttarakhand disaster because I was there. I also been trekking quite a lot, and I think I was at Bagini Glacier, which is part of the same mountain range, just a few weeks before that disaster. So I know, and I think maybe we got connected after that, thereabouts, or maybe after the Nepal earthquake. One of the two. I think that's
because I was there helping
10-15 years back is how I guess we got connected. So before we kind of change the topic into the other parts, maybe just a line about one of the big treks that you've done, which I have not done since we are on trekking, which is Kilimanjaro, in one sentence.
Oh, that's going to be difficult. I think it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life, because that's the mountain I climbed with 3 blind men and 10 sighted individuals. It was India's first inclusive climb that I led to Kilimanjaro. So I think it was very beautiful, and it was truly inclusive because each one made it to the summit, and it's one of my most finest memories of climbing a mountain.
That's quite amazing. Actually, So, people ask children, what do they want to become, and so on and so forth. When that question used to be asked to me, I used to think that I want to be a trek guide, but I could never become one. And I'm now thinking that someday I'll become, and so coincidentally, I'm thinking of actually leading a group of differently abled people.
Okay.
And you've done that like long time back. So I think
I started something like this almost 8 years ago.
Wow.
And it just happened. So, transitioning from journalism to outdoor also. Outdoor as a profession was never on top of my mind in that sense that this is going to be something that I'm going to earn my money from. I used to lead treks in the Sahyadri for my friend's company, and then that time I didn't even start my own company. And so doing something from a commercial standpoint of view was not on top of the mind, but leading treks and doing it in a very safe manner, all of that was imbibed because I had done my mountaineering course and certified mountaineer. But to pursue that as a profession was not on top of the mind. It all just fell in place. Yeah. Similarly, inclusion in outdoors is also something which I started 8 years ago. Again, it just happened because I think I was asked by a blind person if I could take him on a trek. I mean, he wanted to go on a trek, and I said, yeah, you can go. They said, nobody's willing to take me. And then it struck me that why somebody would not want to take. And that's where the journey started. And I thought over it. And I said, if I can take non-disabled people, why can't I take disabled people? It's the same, it's just that. And safety point of view, I think for both it's the same. If there is somebody who's never trekked, who can see, hear everything, who's non-disabled, and if there is a disabled trekker who's also going in for the first time, the level of difficulty for both is the same. And that is how, my thought process changed. And I started small, but today I'm proud to say that what I started 8 years ago has a lot more people are doing it.
Oh, that's amazing.
So the movement is kind of moved, and I'm happy about that. Yeah. I continue to do what I'm doing, but a lot more others are also trying to do the same.
Right. So, being close to nature brings you up close and personal with a lot of things that we in cities don't necessarily see. Some of the things like snow-clad mountains, glaciers, etc. Yeah. And when one treks, as often as what you've done, and I've also been lucky to do, you also see the impact of what we call climate change and so on and so forth, and the heat in the cities and the AQI being actually felt by Mother Nature in wild.
True.
When you see a glacier that you saw, the most famous example I think is Gangotri Glacier, which has apparently gone back by about 10 kilometers over some century or something like that.
Yeah, the Gangotri Glacier and Uttarakhand actually has a couple of other glaciers. So I can tell you about one of the glaciers that we trained on during our mountaineering course in Uttarakhand called the Dokrani Bamak Glacier. And you have the Wadia Institute actually studying the glacier there. And when I went there for my course in 2008, where our base camp was, the glacier had already receded 3 to 4 kilometers in 25 years. So where the base camp was, the glacier was actually there.
Supposed to be there.
Yeah, and then it receded. So we had to actually wear our snow boots, walk on the moraine, and then get to the glacier to do our ice craft, And that is when I learned about glaciers receding, and then, read about it, had the opportunity to go and meet the Wadia Institute scientists as well, who were stationed there because they're reading the glacier and all that. But you're right, because say for instance, in the last 25, 30 years, at least for the last 2 decades that I've been trekking, you see a lot of changes, even Sahyadris, it's much hotter. Earlier we could, trek in the morning, say 7 to 12, trek कर लेते थे. अभी तो in March it's impossible. The last couple of years, March, April, May is out of question. And even night treks, I don't know how many night treks happen nowadays in the summers because it's equally hot in the night. Otherwise we used to do a lot of night treks at least in May. March, April, May, फिर भी we used to do some treks, but now it's completely no. So you are seeing a lot of change in the environment because of various reasons, climate change. And I think it's just going to be inevitable for us to avoid it, I guess. It's just going to get worse.
Well, hopefully we'll find solutions. I think that's what the idea of this podcast is, to generate ideas.
I'm sure AI and technology, people are working around a lot of these solutions.
Hopefully we'll get to that. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that AI can do is to assimilate a lot of data coming from mountains and glaciers and valleys, coming from satellites all over the place now. Everywhere there are satellites, as we know, and tell us about what is happening. Like one of the latest things is, there are some 60 lakes in Himalayas which are at danger level as the snow melts, and the heating environment will lead to floods down in the plains. And this has been happening more and more over
We've
last...
seen that. We've seen those disastrous accidents.
Correct.
I mean, disastrous flash floods.
Correct, the flash floods, yeah. Now let's bring this back to closer to the cities, right? I mean, I think most of the listeners probably haven't been on a glacier, though I hope that you can go and trek on glacier, walk on glacier.
Yeah.
It's a different experience altogether. But we do experience the effects of glaciers going back into our cities in terms of or maybe we are the ones who are causing the glaciers to go back. We don't realize it, but with our habits, with our way of doing things, and so on and so forth, which reflects in a way that is very close to us, an indicator called AQI. Right? So, in your opinion, what does a bad air and a high number on AQI feel like in a city like Bombay, which is kind of where you stay, I guess?
I'm not sure if you're aware, but I'm a chronic asthmatic and I climb mountains. But when I'm in the mountains, I hardly use my inhaler. I've never felt the need to use I'm only on inhalers. I'm not on any medication. Thanks to exercising and being often in the outdoors, it's, I completely off medications for asthma. Yeah. For me, nature is the best medicine. But being a chronic asthmatic, what I don't face in the mountains, because it's still fresh air and the weather is fairly good. But, my body kind of notices first before my mind does when I touch Mumbai or Delhi from the mountains. So in Delhi, as soon as I get out of the airport, it's like heaviness in the breath, because especially during the November, December months.
November is the worst, Delhi.
Yeah, November, December
1000
months.
AQI.
When recently it was like really bad AQI. Invariably I'm like wheezing, and luckily I've not had an attack or anything, but can't go step out without a mask, that bad. And when I'm coming back to Bombay, it's more or less similar. But adding to all that, bad quality air, I think in Bombay, it's also the noise pollution. So, coming from an absolute solitude in the mountains to this chaos in the city of Bombay, I love my city, definitely. But like I said, the body reacts first before your mind does.
Right.
That's how I will describe the change from, coming back from the Himalayas
glaciers to the
pristine Himalayas to the smog of the city. Yeah, true.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, not many people know, but asthma and COPD are actually the largest cause of fatalities in India. It's just that COPD, which is effectively pollution-related respiratory illnesses, are second largest on the death count. But it's really COPD leading to issues with the heart, which actually shows up as the first cause, because everything ultimately ends with the heart sort of stopping or heart attack. So, so it's not really just for people who are in danger zone, but everybody else who's slowly in a city, going from a healthy state to unhealthy state just by inhaling the air that is filled with all kinds of rich pollutants that you have. So it's a generic thing, right? And would love to understand what you think everyone, every city goer, every city dweller can do as one thing to help our cities become greener and cleaner.
I think in simple ways, what we can do is probably drive less. Drive less in the sense you don't need to drive for a 1 kilometer distance. Ride if you can. Ride. See, I'm not saying there's some situations where it'll be very impractical to ride to work or whatever. Well, there are many people who do that, but shorter distance walk or ride, like ride a cycle, which from your perspective, you can reduce it. Stop honking. I mean, that's the least we can do, probably. I mean, I'm sure we all drive, so as much as we can reduce honking, that is one way to reduce noise pollution. I mean, take pity on those traffic cops, yeah. I mean, seriously, what all are they going through? They're going through air pollution, they're going through noise pollution. And even if we can just think of that one man standing there in the busy traffic, and if we can do a little bit of that, save water.
Right.
I mean, if we can use minimalistic as much as possible, I think these are some of the practical things that we can do. And it's easier said than done, actually. When I say cycle around and all, like in raste bhi hone chahiye, but that's the first question that people will ask. But yeah, there are a lot of things that we can do to save this environment, I think.
Great.
Plant more trees. Yeah. Make your society more green than more concrete, I think. So that's what I do. At least in my house, I have indoor and outdoor plants. If I can't see much, then at least I can see the plants get some green relief to my eyes, I think, by seeing those plants.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we can cause not just indoor, but outdoor also equally green eventually. If we don't, then nature will force us to, like the current war is forcing us to save on fuel. You're saying people should drive less. I think that's an advice that we've got from our dear Prime Minister as well, who's just asked people to work from home wherever they don't need to travel. If you don't need to travel, why do you need to get on the road?
Correct.
Save on fuel, which also saves on foreign exchange and keeps the environment green. You said save water. That kind of takes me to the next point, which is we talked about mountains, we talked about cities. Let's talk about the oceans, because ultimately all the junk that we create in the cities goes through rivers or non-existent rivers, which become nalas. There is a river actually called Ram Nadi, very close to where we are sitting in Pune, which has become a nala. And it used to be a pristine river at one time, has become a really, really small equivalent of its old rich river. But ultimately all this ends up in oceans, right?
Oceans. Similar like the Mitti River, I think, in
Mitti River in Bombay, yeah.
It's like a nala only,
Very few people call it a river. So all of this gets into the oceans. I was actually in Andamans recently for a holiday. Beautiful, it's called Swaraj Dweep now. A beautiful name, beautiful place. And I talked to some of the naturalists there, and they were saying that the underwater temperature in the oceans is at a point that is very, very disastrous for the marine life and the corals and so on and so forth. Like we are really, really at the precipice, not just high up in the mountains, but down there in the oceans. What do you think? I mean, how is this whole thing kind of connected in some way, and how could we improve it?
I think all of this is connected to human behavior, right? I mean, it's just look at it. There is not a single space which is not kind of affected, right, by us humans. I mean, we haven't even left the ocean. I mean, we kind of throw stuff, and the marine life, I quite understand where the naturalists are coming from to save the marine life. But I think, like I said, everything boils down to I think, human behavior. If we kind of restrict ourselves from not doing what we've been doing, in the sense that be more responsible. See, I think in terms of saving the environment, main aspect has to be self-regulation. I mean, according to me, it is self-regulation. As much as we can restrict ourselves from thinking that nature is the home for flora and fauna, and it's their home, just as we have for concrete homes, it's for them home, and similar it is for the marine life as well. And I think several studies have shown how marine population is also reducing, right? So everything boils down to, I think, according to me, human behavior. And we need to just try and see how we can save our beaches, save our rivers, not make it into a nala. And it all starts from your home.
True. So what is the one way in which we can start making a change in terms of environment, in terms of, do you think that if every person starts looking at AQI every day, just the way they look at, let's say, stock markets, for example, for people who are investing in stock markets, right? They want to maximize the returns. For people who have, let's say, a problem with blood pressure, they will watch their blood pressure. For people who are looking at, let's say, quality of food that they get in, like nowadays we have nutrition becoming so important. People watch their calories, people watch their mix of different types of macro and micronutrients. Why is it that we don't seem to monitor the air that we all breathe in every moment with the same amount of analytical rigor that we put in everything else, including, for example, for water? We put filters for water and so on. Why do you think we just not understand the importance of it?
I think all of this is an afterthought. Until something doesn't go wrong with you. I mean, look at it from a health perspective itself. Till the time you don't land up in the hospital and the doctor tells you that your lungs are bad or something else is affected because of the environment, you'll kind of get more conscious about it. And I think a fine example of this was the pandemic. People who thought, took things very lightly, became more aware of being, health just fell into place, right? Kuch bhi nahi karna pada logon ko. You decided that you don't want to get COVID, you don't want to be on the bed, you didn't want to lose a life, and therefore you started taking care of yourself. That came after many, many years, I guess. And if that COVID had not happened, I think everybody would lead their life the way it is. But thanks to COVID, that people started thinking about themselves and being healthy. Similarly, I think with environment, it's taken for granted, right? Parks hai, पेड़ पौधे हैं, मतलब कुछ भी करो इसके साथ.
काट भी दो.
Yeah, काट भी दो. Deforestation and all of this is
we're cutting trees in the city of Pune. There are some 500 very old trees which are being cut under the name of some development.
Yeah, some development. So there has to be a fine balance. I'm not saying development is this argument can always happen, because there's one section which will say development nahi chahiye. There's another section which will say development chahiye. But we need to figure that balance out, right? You need to find that balance to make sure that the environment is not degrading. And it's the same way. I mean, yes, of course, why can't we measure AQI? It is only when when you suddenly feel, when you get up in the morning and you look out of your window and you will see there is like this heavy smog, and then you will start checking an AQI. If you feel breathless when you wake up in the morning, when you're not an asthmatic, then you will start checking an AQI. But for all of this to become a habit, I think it'll take a while.
Right.
They take 21 days to change a habit. I think probably, I don't know how many years will it take to actually make this into a habit. I mean, it took us 2 years for people to realize health is important for them, and you just can't take it lightly. And people got more conscious about being more healthy. At least I would say 75% of the people are on the right track now,
right,
because of the pandemic. But from an environment point of view, there is a whole lot needs to be done, and I think it starts with awareness. self-awareness and also awareness from various communities' perspective. Various government initiatives has to be more about awareness rather than more restrictions. Like for instance, when I go on treks to these national park wildlife sanctuaries, why do you have to have a boombox? Why do you have to play music? Listen to the bird songs, yeah, but listen to the bird calls, right? But yeah, so like I said, I come back to human behavior. There are certain things that can never change. And this change has to come either with a strict warning, a fine, like for instance, fine, like it's there abroad. You honk on a signal, it automatically should cut from your, or you should get a challan on your, the moment it's done, that SMS should come to you.
Yeah.
But till the time you don't fine or you don't put restrictions, I don't think things are going to ever change.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of things that are required. One of the things that I think can help us is obviously technology and AI. So assume that for a moment that I were to agree to the logic that if we were to keep our AQI low, that will lead to lower respiratory deaths, better quality of life, cooler planet, everything. Today, it does look like I don't have access to tools which help me monitor my AQI, just like I can watch I can
like
look
you
at
have
time
a
in my
wearable
watch.
to monitor your health.
Wearable for health, wearable for time, wearable for everything else. Why not a wearable for AQI, maybe? And it is certainly possible. And if there is one thing that I think if this episode can take, people can take away from this is that you can monitor your AQI as much as you monitor your health, really. And if you monitor it for 21 days, like you said, you'll start seeing the changes and hopefully try and aim towards a number which is lower than 50, which is where all of us will be far, far more productive and
But I have a
healthy.
question here.
Sure.
Can AQI, like as an individual, how do I measure AQI?
Oh,
And
there are
through
multiple.
tools.
Yeah, there are multiple techniques actually. So AQI is just a sensor, right? So a sensor like blood pressure or a heart rate is just a sensor. AQI is just a sensor. It measures.
So you kind of have it at home, or
You have small formats, but they have not become as commonplace as other types of sensors.
Okay.
So somehow I think because there is no focus on it, hence it has not become commonplace. The technology is very, very simple. It's called PM2.5, PM10, which is the particulate matter. There is filled with like maybe 10,000 different types of gases, some of which are very, very dangerous for our internal body structure and parts and so on and so forth. And those can be measured just by measuring their concentration in the air by a simple instrument. So maybe we need to make AQI for every new builder who claims that, they build beautiful green homes. We should just have those people also mentioning that they will target to get AQI under 50.
right?
And the investors or the people who are going to buy into those apartments should insist that I want this kind of a thing. And that's where the behavior change will happen.
Yeah.
Whether it's from individuals, government, project developers, contractors, there has to be a forcing function, and AQI potentially can be that forcing function if everybody realizes that it is important for each of us, not just for somebody sitting somewhere far away.
Yeah, I think for all of this to be implemented, I think it starts with basic human behavior. The way we waste water. I mean, like simple things like food, water, clothes. There's so much of wastage in all of these things. All of this finally ends up in the environment in some way or the other, right? And it's like disastrous.
Right. So just changing tracks a bit. So assume that all of us have our AQI meters in hopefully some near future. Then we can potentially start tracking AQI just like we track today, let's say temperature, right? And we see temperature rising. We don't know what to do with it today, right? We are sitting at 40 degrees in Pune, which never happened.
Correct.
50 degrees in some parts of Maharashtra and some parts of India, which again has never happened. 33 degrees underwater in
Andamans, yeah.
which can really endanger some very beautiful animals. There's an
Marine
animal
life,
called marine life. There's a beautiful animal called dugong, which is like a beautiful big fish, which is getting endangered. There's just few of them left, all because of things that we are doing in the cities, which poor animals don't even have a clue about. So assume that all of us have this magic AQI meters, and we all are beaming data. That's one way. The other way is that we can have satellites which are monitoring the AQIs in multiple different places without even us monitoring it, because a satellite is effectively an eye in the sky, and technologies now exist to make that satellite monitor not just the temperature, not just the soil quality under the weather, under the earth, but also the quality of the air that we breathe in.
Right.
So the tools are now available, which was not the case. So just like COVID made a variety of health equipment's standard norm for every house.
Correct.
Hopefully, we don't have to wait for COVID to have the air quality measurement either from satellites for cities, city planners, and governments, and so on, and for all of us individually monitoring our own so-called carbon footprint by way of AQI.
Correct.
To make a coordinated movement, because ultimately the thing about the development that you talked about is that, while some people may say that we need development, we need to improve our quality of life, and everybody has the right to improve quality of life and so on and so forth. It's just that in that process of development, we should not be
endangering the environment,
endangering ourselves. So I think what we don't realize is that endangering the environment is actually endangering us. What is outside us is just inside us.
That's
so
true.
The heat outside is going to reflect as heat inside. It'll give rise to inflammations. It'll give rise to whatever cancers, respiratory diseases, and so on and so forth. So as a let's say to the final part of, let's assume we have AI, we have wonderful technology which can help us all make us understand that these are things which we can do to make our environment better, our life better. Do you think then we can get together as a community of people, change from within, and let's say bring AQI under 50 in Mumbai, in Pune?
Definitely. I think all of this requires that, what do you call them? People movement?
Social movement?
Social movement, yeah.
Hopefully not revolutions, evolutions.
And I think a lot of changes in various other areas have also happened through these social movements, right? So something like AQI, like say in Delhi there was this protest and people were taking, in fact now people in Delhi are far more aware and they are measuring, I think, AQI on a daily basis, because they had never thought of their Delhi air to be so bad, right? And I think in Mumbai also it's starting slowly and steadily. We need more parks. See, that's what I'm saying. When you, so this one is social movement. Then, from development point of view, can we have more green spaces where people can, breathe freely? There has to be a fine balance about everything. There has to be awareness among people for people to bring about this change. Even for the social movement to happen, पहले अपने आप में देख के अपने आप को झांक के देखो. It has to start from each one.
True.
You have to first feel the need to feel good about yourself, feel good about your environment before you, take this or make this a movement and ask others to join you to make the planet a better place to live.
Yeah, like they say, be the change that you want around you.
I always believe in one thing. So in the outdoors, and when I started this work with inclusion of persons with disability in the outdoors, is like if you want to see a change, you need to be the change yourself. So long as you don't personally feel the change, you are not going to be able to change anything in the society.
Yeah, so cribbing about the heat, the traffic, the noise, the dust, the smog is not going to help. What is going to help is start tracking, your own environment, start looking at AQI and start talking to other people who are doing it, and eventually change.
And bring about a behavioral change.
Yeah, change inside before asking somebody else to change.
Yeah. I mean, I
Wonderful.
think a lot of these things, personally, I feel starts with behavioral change. Can you eat your food in just one plate without having 10 katoris for different things? Imagine the amount of water that you'll waste to clean all of that. I'm talking of simple things. You asked about what can one do at home. Eat in one plate.
Yeah, and I hope it's not just people like us, but it's also the companies, the large corporates, the cement plants, the steel plants, the ones who have those chimneys, and that's a large scale. I mean, a small percentage change in that can help as much as maybe 100 homes, and so on and so forth. So I think we've covered a lot of ground. So let's kind of come to an end. We're going to have a rapid fire last round here. So I'm going to ask a question, and a quick short answer would be great. Starts with which is your favorite trek, and also the one that you yet to do?
Okay, so one of my favorite treks has been in the Nanda Devi Sanctuary trek, which I did before I went in for my mountaineering course in Uttarakhand. And the one trek that I want to do is one of the world's toughest trek in Bhutan called the Last Snowman Trek. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to plan to do that, because you can't go solo in Bhutan. So yeah, that is one trek I want to do.
What's the ideal city AQI for you?
I can't remember of any city that has...
Let's not talk about cities that are there today, but what would you like it to be, let's say? What would your...
my ideal city would be, which is like nice green township.
With the AQI number
with the AQI number of, say, less than 50, of course. I mean, say 25 or 30.
Wonderful.
It's like, it's a very, very, ideally, if you think of it like, isse acha aur kuch nahi ho sakta, but...
Right. There are many cities in Europe right now which are under 25, are actually at 20, 10, even single digits. So it's definitely possible for us.
I mean,
in
India we'll have to see, because I mean, actually comparing India to Europe and all is very difficult. It's not the right parameter. We look at our population.
Yeah.
So given the parameters that we have, or rather the constrictions, restrictions that we have, we need to figure out something within that to make things simpler, I guess, for Indians.
Sure. Final question. What is one superpower which you think you want to have to fight climate change?
One superpower is to make the place more green, have more trees, birds. I mean, that would be, I'd love to see the place more green.
Wow. Let's have, on that bright note, let's kind of wish for a lot of trees around. Let's wish for a lot of plantations. It's something that we can do.
Yeah.
Plantation is easy. There is a monsoon that is coming. Let's plant millions of trees, and hopefully in next year or two, they will start slowly taking root and then growing, and eventually we'll have lots of cities, and that'll bring the AQI down to your ideal 25.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's where we want to get to.
Yeah.
So on that bright note, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Anusha,
it was a pleasure.
That was a wonderful conversation to start off this series on AQI to get to AGI, and with a discussion on mountains don't lie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.